Hello, my name is Roger Merrill. I'm 38. I am a male. I am Native American, South African, French, Scottish, and a little Chinese, apparently. I grew up in Longview, Washington, Cowlitz County, where I now live. I moved back about 5 years ago. I moved back here to have a quiet life, to kind of be alone. I grew up here, like I said. It wasn't easy. From the age of 4 or 5, I was called faggot, not knowing what the word meant. I'm sorry, this is emotional for me, so please bear with me. Called nigger because of the color of my skin, especially in the summertime when I get darker like most natives do. Just to give you an idea of what kind of town this was growing up, and kind of still is. So I left when I was 19. I became Goddess Rockefeller, a drag queen in Portland. I had a lot of successes, and I had a lot of unsuccessful moments, bouts with drug and alcohol, which, you know, a lot of people my age do go through. I decided when I was about 28 that I was tired and I was done, and I didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore. I didn't like the shallowness. I didn't like the backstabbing, the lies, the way that people attack you for just being talented or being pretty or having your own opinion, or speaking for that matter, being told you're pretty, just keep your mouth shut a lot of the times, which, again, annoying. Anyway, so I, after moving to Colorado for 5 years and finding myself getting away from who I was, Goddess Rockefeller, I decided to move back to Longview, Washington, where my family lives, to be closer to my family. After very publicly being embarrassed in Portland, my Facebook was hacked, the FBI was involved, Facebook closed it down, it was just a bunch of drama. I hid in my sister's basement in Toledo for about a year. Really just wanting to give up. Because at this point, you know, I was 33, 34, and I had been dealing with this all my life, and I was just tired. I finally got a job at Michael's craft store here in Longview. I worked my ass off. I was there 6 months, promoted, maybe 9 months, promoted three times. The first couple weeks there were some issues about my drag pictures on Facebook. There were a lot of comments said behind my back about my appearance. The district manager was brought in. I had no idea any of this was going on until I was pulled to the office and asked about it. I was told it was taken care of. At the time, Fern Johnson was the manager at Michael's, who I adore till this day. She was terminated for reasons I am unaware of. And that's when things got worse for me. There are a clique of women there. They're still there, and I have heard stories about how they have treated other women that have worked there too. I began, I think it was about an 8 to 9 page letter I sent corporate about what was going on, about how I was being disrespected. I had just become a manager. I wasn't involved in manager meetings. My hours were cut to the minimum that were supposed to given to me, and I was told by the store manager that I could have more hours if I worked a 6th day that week on a Friday, so he could go golf, because that's what he does. He goes into golfs at the country club here in town. Or the other golf course, but that's what he was doing at the time, golfing. I really feel like the manager, Fern, protected me from a lot that was going on up until she left. I was ridiculed all the time about my appearance, about my makeup, the fact that I like to wear dresses. If I knew how to do something, there was a specific manager there, Noelle, I don't really fucking care who knows her name, Noelle Jackson. And every time, of course you do, but not in a, like, good for you kind, but in a, like, fuck you, basically. Just very insecure woman. So, I had gotten the management position because Bridget Dolan had quit. She had had it before me. She had given her 2 weeks. While I signed my name on it, she looked at me after giving her 2 weeks and said, "Oh, you're going after my job now." To which I replied, "No, I'm applying for an open position," which I did, which I got. A lot of people did not like that because they were trying to get somebody else in their clique in there, but it was a decision made by the district manager, not the store manager or any of the other managers. And I had worked my ass off to get there. I had gotten probably the most customer response letters sent in during my time there. Those stopped. They would only come out after a complaint was filed, and then the district manager, would basically stroke my ego, is what they were trying to do, but of course I'm not stupid. The real issue started when I went in one day. There was no manager around to help the cashier there, and she was a friend of mine, personal friend also. And they usually sat in the office, and I had letters from employees stating, how I was the only manager that got out and worked on the floor with everybody. I went behind the counter to get her something. I had seen it done many, many times by other employees who were off the clock also. The difference was I was wearing cutoff shorts. Daisy Dukes. I left that day, went about my business. The next day I came in. Somebody had seen me back there, and I feel it was Noelle Jackson because she was really the only one there and the one that came out onto the floor. And they complained. So corporate the district manager came in and talked to me about going behind the counter. I said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I was not written up for this." Then proceeded to tell me that she was going to give me some advice a manager had given her long ago in Phoenix when she worked at Ross when she first started out. And that was, she had worn some shorts in one day off the clock or something. But anyway, they said to her, you might want to be, well, she said it to me this way: you might want to be aware of how you dress on the clock and off the clock, because I would hate to see it hold you back from getting promoted within this company or another company. And that's exactly what she said to me. I wrote it down. I actually couldn't believe she had just said that to me after dealing with all the drag pictures and everything else on Facebook. So I asked her to repeat it because I thought maybe I was hearing things, or I just was completely out of it and didn't understand what had just happened to me, because I felt slapped in the face. I filed a complaint. The store manager told me the same thing. Cognizant, he said. You need to be cognizant of who's in the store. A word I had never heard once before in my life. I actually had to look it up to know what it meant. Aware. To be aware. Things just got worse for me there working. My shorts came up more than once. Again, the way I dressed came up more than once, which pissed me off. So, of course, I kept wearing them because I have the right to be who I want to be and dress the way that I want to dress off the clock and go into my work to buy stuff. I'm sorry, you're offended. I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. Fuck you. So I ended up going through the Human Rights Commission. They were unable to help me because they said Michaels technically did deal with the issue. The way they dealt with the issue was showing the five managers, just the 5 managers, a video on harassment. And it was their job to cycle it down. It wasn't being cycled down. I was cycling it down. I was having employees sign when I would cycle it down because it came down from corporate. It was supposed to be done. It wasn't done. The store manager even made a comment, something like, it's just a bunch of useless information. Just sit through it. It take a couple hours, and then you're done with it. Now, I found that offensive because I was the one who filed the complaint, and this was the only way they're dealing with it. In the video, it also said that any employee had the right to contact the president of the company if they had an issue, which I tried to do, and I was told by the secretary that I was misinformed. So I told her, well, she may want to watch her training videos and get up to speed on what they're sending out. I'm pretty pissed about this still. So, I lost my job. I filed for unemployment. They didn't give it to me, and then I wrote to unemployment. Why? And they gave it to me, and I was told by a lawyer later that they gave it to me to try to shut me up, and they fired me to also try to shut me up. So after the Human Rights Commission, I went to the EEOC promptly thereafter. I sent them everything I had. They wanted copies of all my notes. I have a stack about like this for 9 months of notes. And I lost my job. I was on unemployment. I was barely getting by with my bills. I still am barely getting by on anything. So they wanted copies of everything, and I could only afford to do, one set of copies. I didn't know that I had to do a set for each individual department that it was going to go. I just assumed that, they were going to do the right thing and just send it. Anyway, they ended up finding in my favor to take them to court for unlawful termination. By that time, it had been a year and a half. I had been on my 4th or 5th antidepressant by then, mood stabilizers, because I couldn't look at myself. I had moved out of this town at 19 to discover who I was because I had been so suppressed here, not only by kids in school, but by my neighbors, sadly by my own family. My grandmother and mother told me I was possessed by demons, that's why I was gay, or that I had too many female hormones and I needed to go get checked. So all this happened. My family is supportive when it comes to backing me up with other people, but behind closed doors, they're the same, honestly. So my mother had been in that day that they fired me. HR came into Michael's after the EEOC had decided that, no, I'm sorry, after the human rights. This was after the human rights, before I went to the EEOC. I went to them after I got fired. So after the Human Rights Commission said they couldn't help me, HR came from Texas, because there's no HR in the stores here. There's no HR at corporate office in Portland. The HR is in Texas. And I had been filing complaints over the phone on my own time off. I finally stopped. She was calling me the instigator, telling me that I was acting like a spoiled child and not everything goes my way, because I was asking to be respected in my position that I was given. To which Bridget Dolan had come back to Michael's and stated in the break room that she was going to get her position back. She also walked out on me in the middle of a shift. She also went above my head constantly to other managers who were off the clock, mind you, when I would ask her to do something. And again, and according to Washington state law, anyone that walks off the clock is automatic termination. But she wasn't terminated. And another employee brought that up to the store manager, to which he got in her face and told her to mind her own business. The store manager also came at me in the office one time. He was standing in the door of the cash office. I was standing by the office door on the opposite side of the office, and there was Brandy, another manager, sitting in there. This was the day after Bridget, and I went in there and I said, I wasn't going to put up with being disrespected anymore. Why should I have to call them off the clock to deal with stuff? My job was the manager. My job was to make sure the store ran smoothly. All this manager did was either rotate their schedule so they didn't work with me, which again, to the video, was against corporate policy and was considered retaliation, which I also brought up to HR. So I'm jumping around a little bit here. I'm sorry, it's been a while. Anyway, so I ended up finding out, because it's a small town, that he was a manager at Lowe's here in town and involved in a lawsuit with Lowe's that paid out $1.7 million, the largest discrimination and sexual harassment case to be paid out up until that point. From what I was able to access online, because all I did was Google his name, Lowe's, and Longview, Washington, and it came up. From what I ascertained from the paragraph I read, or the little information that was given to me, he wasn't found guilty, but HR was for not doing their job. But he stepped down. So that was brought to my attention by a friend I went to school with who worked at Lowe's. I didn't say anything to anybody about it. I kind of just sat on it until another employee came to me with something that she had seen him do to a female employee, and I had witnessed him rub Noelle Jackson's shoulders from right to left on his way out when she was down like this on the floor, and he's like, I'm going to lunch, and he ran them across like that. Little intimate to me. But anyway, so after the employee came forward to me with what she had seen, being the manager, she didn't want me to go to corporate, but that's my job. That's when I Google searched it, because I was like, well, it's small town gossip, let me see. And it was right, it was true. It was there in black and white. I called them, I let them know. They didn't know anything about it. I asked them, why am I able to access this through Google and it didn't come up in your background check? Why are you allowing a man that was involved in something like this, maybe he wasn't found guilty, but the court found somebody guilty, to pay out $1.7 million? So then it went from me being a spoiled child and not getting my way to going after him because of previous lawsuit, which was bullshit because I didn't know anything about it. Like I said, I had only been back here in town for a little bit. I kind of tried to just stick to myself and do my own thing and pay my bills. I really came back to Longview just to be alone, Now I know that will never happen because, you know, people like me and I like people, and I've made some really great friends here in Longview, so please don't get me wrong, Longview, I'm not putting everybody down. And a lot of you are on my Facebook, most of you, I love you, and you're there for a reason. And without you, I wouldn't have the strength to do this, because I'm very emotional, because one thing, I hate being on camera, and two, this is my life. I don't know the consequences of this video, what they're going to be. I finally did get a little part-time job. I have two. I'm barely paying my rent. I'm barely paying my bills. Right now my focus is to get my rent caught up. My landlords have been so unbelievably kind throughout this whole thing. It's been almost 3 years now I've been dealing with this, and I finally just got a job. So I was given the permission to take Michaels to court, but at that time I was just so beat down and tired and so drugged up on antibiotics. I think I was taking an antibiotic, a mood stabilizer, God, I don't even know what else. I was taking like 5 pills. About 3 months ago, I decided I can't live this way anymore. Unfortunately, when I decided to stop taking the pills, my grandmother had a stroke and passed away. So, needless to say, coming off the medication was a little bit harder. And as expected, I felt low. I didn't try to kill myself, but I did have suicidal thoughts. But thank God I had 3 great people who consider me family and who are always there for me, even though I keep them at arm's length a lot of the time, like I do a lot of people. To which I'd like to address, I'm sorry, I've just been hurt a lot, and I have a lot of trust issues, so it's nothing against you. I've also pushed away some really great people recently in my life, just because I just don't feel I have anything to offer, honestly. Anyway, so I was done. I was tired. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm living in a small town. I couldn't find a job. I did find a job at one point, and something came up from Michaels. She had heard that I was fired for theft, which I was also accused of by the cash office person, that I was stealing money at night when I closed and then putting it back in the next day, because I apparently have piles of money around to replace any money that is taken. Anyway, I wasn't fired for stealing. I will post the paperwork later regarding the firing. I was fired for wearing my shorts behind the counter, which I wasn't written up for. They said I was fired for pressuring employees to write letters. I had 14 employees write letters on my behalf. I didn't pressure anybody. I told them, if you want to, please do. If you don't, I completely understand, because it was my fight. But it was my fight. No one else was helping me. HR wasn't helping me. I was talking to an attorney who was reluctant to take the case. He he found another lawyer for me in Vancouver, but he wouldn't take it here. This is a good old boys club here in Longview. People join the country club and belong to the country club, and other people like that, and they all buddy and do their own things and got people wrapped around their fingers, and it's just fucked up, just like most little small towns are these days. So I let it go. Well, I've been off the antidepressants for about 3 months now, and I'm not drugged anymore, and I'm angry. I'm angry as hell. I'm broken. It's not just about Michaels. It's about being in my hometown and being treated this way. And it didn't stop with Michaels, because it went on to gossip from these women. This clique of bitches. I don't care about my language anymore. I don't have anybody else to press. I have nothing else to lose. I'm barely hanging on as a human. I'm barely hanging on to my home. My family and I don't speak anymore. My grandmother says I was disrespectful to her because I stood up to her because of Home Depot. Anyway, so let me see. So Michaels, anyway, quit. Went to Bed Bath & Beyond. Got the job. All on my references, all on my background. Decided I needed to be honest with them because Michaels was next door. I was. Up until then, they were talking about how I was going to take advantage of all these management opportunities they had.